Hey you, this is Jasim from CodeBand, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to write a custom management command in Django. So before we actually move into the implementation part, I'd like to speak a little bit about what exactly is a management command and why we should write a custom management command. So without any further, let's jump right into it. Alright guys, so we have seen a lot of management commands and we have used it a lot. Say for example, when we actually migrate our database, we use migrate command, python manage.py migrate, and also in the make migrations we use python manage.py make migrations. Then for collect static we use python manage.py collect static, and a lot others too. Now all these are built in management commands that Django has already given us. We just need to use those things. Now there are cases when we actually need to implement a custom management command, and I'll explain you why or where we should use those steps. So before that, a custom management command should look something like python manage.py hello. So for example, we can have any names without being conflicted by the built-in name. So python manage.py hi or something similar, whatever it be, we can have those kind of custom commands. So then the biggest question would be why we should use such commands. Now the biggest answer or the big example for that is to schedule tasks. So say for example, you have an application which will go into a site, which will go into another website and scrapes those data from that website and post it to somewhere, save it to database and do some stuff with that. So you want to actually make this functionality work in a periodic time. So say for example, in an interval of 10 seconds you need to execute a particular script which I have mentioned, like you need to go into a website, scrape those things, put it in database and do whatever stuff. So in order to make that thing happen in every 10 seconds, you need to schedule that particular job. Now that's where the custom management command shines, because you can create something like python manage.py scrape. You can make this particular command run every 10 seconds so that it will scrape and do the else part. So that's where one of the use case of this custom management command. Now there are other scenarios as well, like if you're building a web application where you need to generate reports, so daily reports, maybe you need to generate at 12 o'clock in the night and so on. So with this particular management command, like for example python manage.py generate report and all, you can make that functionality. You can have all sort of functionality, like you can generate that complete report using your database and all, and then you can email those things, and you can do a lot more with that with this particular management command. So that's what is the biggest advantage of using a custom management command. So now we are on to our PyCharm, where we actually have created a custom project, a brand new project where I've not implemented anything except I've created a new application named core, and I've added that application into the settings.py, and that's it. Now we need to create the management command. So I'll quickly show you a basic example. So say for example, we'll be using something like python manage.py hello, which will print maybe a hello world, and that's it. So before we actually move into that, I would like to show you the GitHub repository associated with this project, with this video, that is this one, the Django custom management commands. I'll put this link in the description section so that you can follow along. Now I have those code being generated or being exposed in this part, in the readme part, and also the code will be there in the repo as well. So with that, we'll move on to the basic example. Now Django identifies our commands, the custom commands that we write by following, if we only follow a particular convention. So the convention is that in any of our application, so here I have the core application, I need to create two folders. So the first folder is management, and inside that management folder I have to create a commands folder. So I'll quickly show you how it is done. So I'll create a new file there. So for example, not for example, actually it's the convention. So management slash commands. So management is a folder and slash commands means commands is again a folder, and inside this commands folder we need to write our file name. Now the file name is exactly would be the command name. So python manage.py hello. If you require that hello, then the file name should be hello.py. So just like that. So I'll quickly recap once again. So this is the core, my application. Inside that I've created a management folder, then a commands folder inside that, and inside that command folder I've created hello.py. Now with this setup I can be able to have that kind of custom management command, python manage.py hello. But we're not still into it, completely into it. We need to do some implementations and only we'll get that kind of access. So with this one, now the basic syntax, I've created that kind of class over here. So I'll just copy and paste the stuff and I'll explain what exactly it is. So I'll quickly copy that and I'll paste. Now it's actually a class called command. Now this command is actually very important because it has to be named in this way command, otherwise there will be some attributors and all, and it has to be inheriting the base command clause which we import at the top. Okay, so this is a kind of convention to follow, it is required to follow. Now there is something called help. Now help, we might have already seen, like we have a management command called python manage.py help. Where we actually if we run that, you can see kind of all commands there. Now we can have we can take a particular command. So say for example I'll take collect static, and then you can see the collect static documentation, I mean the all the information about that. Now you can see some information about this command here. Now this is what the help means. So if we say help and followed by this hello, then we'll get this text here in the same position as the collect static here, and a kind of additional information as well. So that's what is the help text here. Now this is very important part. This is the part that we need to implement in order to work this stuff. So this handle method is the one which will be invoked when we call that particular command. So here in what I've written is just self.stdout.write hello. Now it's apparently equal to the printing out just the hello to the console, but we cannot actually use like print hello as it is not that way. I mean it's not implemented in that way. We need to target the standard output and write on it the strings that we require to do so. So this is all about it. Like we can have something like hello world for instance, and let me quickly show you what this very simple management command does for us. So I can simply say now like python manage.py hello, and what do you know, it just consoled me hello world. So it simply works. So this is all about a basic example. Now we are going to actually show you some cool things like how to deal with arguments. So say for example you have something like a 10 or some flags and all. So how to actually deal with those arguments, how to receive those arguments, how to parse, how to work with those arguments and all. So we're just moving on to that section. Alright guys, so first of all we'll start with positional arguments. Positional arguments means it's simple, dead simple. So something like if we say like python manage.py hello followed by something, so for example 10 or some strings of characters or all. So whatever it be, it's based on the positional arguments. It will not have any name associated with it. So how to implement, how to actually parse those things in this class. So that's what we are going to be discussing. Again, back into the documentation or the GitHub repo, I have already shown you the way how to do it. So positional arguments, you can see. I'll quickly create another file. So here what we are going to implement is something called generate users, which means we'll create a particular number of users. Now that users will be actually the input to that command, the argument to that command. So we'll create as much as those number of users with this particular command. So I'll quickly show you what exactly I meant by that. So I'll create a new file. and I'll call it generate underscore users. Now this will be exactly the same name as the command would be, so python manage.py generate users. And now what I'm going to be doing is I'll quickly copy and paste this stuff and I'll explain you in detail. So you can see the basic thing, it is a class and it's extending from the base command that we have already seen. And then we can see the help text generate random users. And then before we actually move into this part, I'll quickly show you this one. This is the basic thing that we have shown you before. The handle method, we should implement that method, and this will be invoked when we call that particular management command. And now before we actually explain this, let us quickly go through this one. Now there is a method called add arguments which receives the parser argument. So in order to actually add an argument, so for example, in order to add python manage.py generate underscore users followed by that particular argument, so here I'll do something like 10. So in this case, I have already explained to you that we'll be using some count, so 10 or 20, so we'll create 20 users or 30 users according to this argument here. So in order to use that one, we need to set an argument by this method on the parser instance. So parser.add argument, you can see parser.add argument. Now the first argument here is the count. Count means it's basically the name, how we parse that one in the handle method. So we receive that argument by using this name, okay? And we are not going to say like count equal to 10, but instead what we are doing is we're just positionally doing it, so just 10 would be enough. So upon receiving, we can that count will be there in the quarks of count, okay? Quarks will be again a dictionary which will hold all the arguments passed into it, and upon accessing the count we can get that particular value. Now the type here is integer, which means whatever we type in there will be casted to integer upon receiving in the quarks. And then help again, if we can particularly see this stuff here, so kind of help text that will show when we actually run that help command, indicate the number of users to be created. And with this particular statement, we are able to receive a positional argument, and it will be there in the count variable. So in the handle method, what we are going to do is count equal to quarks of count, which means if we pass 10, then count will be 10, and we are just looping through that particular count. And what we are doing is user.objects.create user, and username, what I have given here is get random string, so just generate some random string as username, email, static email, and a password. Now this command will create as much as users as we pass into the argument. So here you can see I'm passing like python manage.py generate users 10. 10 means 10 number of users will be created. So let me quickly run this and show you the output. So you can see no such table or user. Now that's because I haven't migrated my stuff, so I'll quickly run another command, built-in command, migrate, so that it'll be all migrated. Now it's okay. Now I'll just quickly run this script again, and what do you know, we didn't get any output because we haven't written any output to the standard output, so that's why it didn't show me any output. But still it gets without any errors, which means 10 users are created. Now we can pass in 30, which will at the end generate 30 users. So you can see that it didn't generate any errors. So with this being said, it's okay to how to deal with positional arguments. Now let's move into the optional or named arguments. Alright guys, so now we'll talk about optional arguments, or sometimes we call it as named arguments, because we'll have kind of names. So for example, we'll have something like dash dash, maybe dash dash flag to be 10 and so on. So this is actually the name of that particular argument, and this is the value, 10 is the value here. So how to handle this kind of arguments, that's what we are going to be discussing here. So again, back into the documentation here, we'll quickly copy and paste this example here, and I'll show you what exactly I meant by that. So I'll quickly copy this and paste over here. Now what I've done here is I've added an optional argument, and the other things are the same, count, and apart from that I've also added an optional argument. Now this is called prefix. Okay, prefix means what I'm going to implement at the end is if we actually have that kind of if we actually have this prefix sent in as an argument, then the username will be prefixed by that particular thing. So for example, if it is like Python manager.py generate users, and then we'll have something like prefix and then followed by something like abc, then the username will be created in a way like prefix underscore or abc underscore, and then a random string will be generated. So this is the kind of way that we are going to be looking into. Okay, so with that, now here there is an error. You can see now that's because the random string is not being generated. So I'll quickly add that get there. So I don't know why that happens, and I'll call that method. So this would now work fine. Now I'll quickly explain you what exactly it is, how to add an optional argument. So parser.add argument, and now the first argument is a short form. So you can use, instead of dash dash prefix, you can use just p itself, and that should work. And second one is a long form, so dash dash prefix, and then type is equal to str, meaning it will be casted to a string, and then help text is just define a username prefix. Now in the handle method, what we are doing is we'll have that count, we'll fetch that count, we'll fetch that prefix. Now we'll loop through that until the count, and if prefix is there, we'll add that username to be prefix underscore. So if it is abc, then abc underscore that particular random string, otherwise just the random string. Okay, and then we'll create as much as users. So I'll quickly demonstrate this again. Python manage.py generate users, and I'll use both short and long terms. So dash dash p followed by abc, meaning abc underscore then particular random string will be generated. So I also need that particular positional argument. So I'll say I need to generate 3 users, and their username should be prefixed with abc. Okay, so if I create that, then you can see there is some errors like ambiguous option dash dash p could not match. So yeah, that's because it's actually not dash dash. I'm very sorry for that. It's actually a single dash, so dash p abc. So with that, you can see there's no output there. I mean, we haven't printed any output, but still it works without any errors, meaning those users will be created. Now I'll use the short form too, dash dash prefix, then it'll work fine as well. Yeah, it just worked. Okay, so all things work. Now I haven't tested those things like in the database we do have those things being actually saved, but we'll test that with another command which I'll show you in a minute. So with this being said, we are now handling the optional arguments or the named arguments, and that is also working fine. Now we'll move on to a flag or Boolean argument, which means just the flag without any values, just true or false kind of values. Alright guys, so let's actually go into the repository here, and you can see the particular command here. I mean the code here. I'll quickly copy and paste, and I'll explain again in a minute. So in here, the first 2 things we have already discussed, and now the third argument, you can see it has the short form of dashes and long form of dash dash super user. Now what I'm going to be doing is, if the command has something like dash dash super user, then what we'll do is we'll create that particular users as super user, so they'll have that kind of admin privilege. So you can see we have another command for create super user, so they'll be having all that super user to be true, that value to be true. Okay, so that's what this particular Boolean thing is there for. Now I'll explain that in a minute. We have the dashes, long form, short form. Now there is something called action. So action equal to store true. Now action means it's actually store underscore true means if we didn't pass that particular value. So if we didn't pass this dash dash super user, then the argument if we try to parse this one, super user is equal to quarks of super user, then this particular argument will be holding false. Okay, and that's because it's having that stored true. So the default value, if you didn't pass anything, this will be set to false. Now if we do pass anything, so which means if we pass super user, then if we try to access, then it will be having a true value. So true, store true. So if we have that, then true, otherwise false. Now we also have something like store false, which means the opposite. So if we don't have anything, then it will be true, and if we do have something, then it will be false. So remember that kind of logic, okay? It's not a good big thing, it's just a simple logic, okay? Now we do have some other things for actions as well. I'll put a link in the description for more information about that as well. Now again, help is equal to that kind of help text. Now we fetch all those things here, and we do have all those things, prefix, and also again I'll remove this one. I mean, I will quickly correct this one. I'll correct this in the repository as well. So then we have this kind of logic. If super user, if that flag is set, then we need to create a super user, otherwise we need to create a normal user. And with this being said, let us quickly run this one with the flag being set -- super user. And what do you know, no errors, it's there. Now we can use short form --s, and yeah, there's again, it's not --, it's a small, I mean, just a single dash, and it just worked fine, okay? So everything is working perfectly fine, and this is how we should deal with the Boolean arguments. Now with this being said, the next thing we are going to be discussing is arbitrary list of arguments. Now here in this method, we are going to test whether our things work, whether whatever we created just worked so fine. So let's move into that. Alright guys, so now we are dealing with arbitrary list of arguments. So which what I meant by that is something like we can have a lot of arguments. So I'll quickly show you that example, then only you'll get to know what I'm going to implement. I'll quickly copy and paste and then I'll explain. Now here I'm going to create another file, so another command I'm going to create, and that's nothing but remove users. So now I'm going to test whatever we have done before. We have created a lot of users, now we are trying to remove those users with this particular remove users command. Now the argument that we expect is user_id. Now we have seen a lot of arguments with just a single value. Now this one is holding a list of arguments. So we'll pass a list of user IDs. So one space, 2 space, 3 space, we can have n number of arguments, right? So for that, what we are doing is parser.add argument, then this is name, and n args means number of arguments. So here the value is plus means actually one or more, okay? So we have something like star, which means 0 or more, or we can just directly say like 2, 3, 4, which means it will hold that particular, it will only accept those 2 or 3 number of arguments. So that's what is number of arguments. Now type will cast to end, and help is equal to user ID. Now again, what we'll do at the end is python manage.py remove users, and then we'll pass the kind of user ID. So 1 space, 2 space. Now these are all the IDs of users, so we can accept n number of arguments because we have set it to star. Now remember, it was being plus, which means at least one is required, so 1 or more, okay? So this would work in this manner. And the handle, what we actually do is we'll parse that. So this users IDs will be the list of commands, and then for user ID and user IDs, we'll loop through that, and we'll have that, we'll fetch all those things. I mean, we'll fetch that single user, we'll delete that, and we'll write to the console that this particular user is removed. Now let us quickly test this one. Remove users 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're removing that users, deleting those. So I'll quickly enter, and what do you know, user and this random string with ID 1, 2, 3, 4 removed successfully. And what do you know, it just worked. So the whole previous commands were working, and this one is exactly working fine. So this is all about it. I mean, the kind of handling arguments I have explained 4 or 5. Now we also have something like styling, which means if you look back, you can see we can actually change the color of the output. So here all the colors are the regular default black one. So for example, if I copy and paste this command here, instead of this one. You can see self.std out.write, then we have self.style.success, and this success means it is something successful, okay, which means the color will be green. So I'll quickly also copy this one. So if the particular user does not exist, then we'll have that warning command, which means it will be in yellow color. So let's quickly test this out. So I'll quickly run 5, 6, 7, and 8 or 9. Then you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, it's already being removed there, so it shows that warning message, and the other things it is successful and it's totally working fine. So this is all about styling. Now the last thing I have to tell you about is the private or what we should say, like if we have the particular commands in the commands folder, if we create any file, then it will be considered as a management command. So what if we need to write some additional logic? So we can have that if the particular file starts with underscore, so underscore private.py. So in this case, this file would not be considered as that particular management command, so we'll not be able to access python manage.py private, because since there is a trail, I mean the leading underscore is there, so that's why it will not work. I mean, we cannot have that particular management command private. Instead, what the exact meaning of, or the why we should need a private command, it totally depends on the logic. If we need to write logic, a lot of logic, then we should have a lot of files, right? So that's why this one will not be treated. If we want to exclude something, add an underscore at the beginning. Okay, so that's what is the whole thing about the management commands. And with that, let's actually move into the conclusion. So hope you enjoyed this video. I have talked about a lot, like basic example, handling, what are the applications, then styling and private things and all. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any doubts or any suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please don't forget to subscribe my channel and click the bell icon near to it. So thank you guys, thank you for watching. We'll see you in the very next.